Welcome, everyone. Welcome to those joining us live just now and still coming in, and to everybody who will be listening to us afterwards once the recording will be made available. I'm really excited to have you all with us today on this special event on the FIP development goals, where we'll be launching a new global report from FIP, as well as introducing you to a new online knowledge center for the goals. Quick introduction to me. Before we begin, my name is Lina Badr. I'm the FIP lead for the Development Goals program in general, as well as the current lead for workforce transformation and development at FIP, the International Pharmaceutical Federation, the global leadership body for pharmacy. Some quick housekeeping announcements. Just a reminder, this event is being recorded and is currently being live streamed via YouTube, so you can access the recording at any moment once this is complete. The recording will also be made available on our website, events.fip.org. You may feel free to ask questions using the question box in the panel in front of you. And of course, please continue to introduce yourself in the chat. We'd love to hear from you, and we're really looking forward to engaging with you today. You are welcome to provide feedback on this event and future webinars by emailing webinars@fip.org. And if you aren't already, you can consider becoming a member of FIP and enjoying the full suite of membership benefits. Visit our website to find out more about membership. Today, two simple objectives, as the title of this event entails. We'd like to present to you the new FIP Development Goals Report 2021, published, of course, in 2022, and provide a summary of some key highlights and features you can find in that report, as well as showcase and present a new website or online knowledge center for the development goals, take you on a quick but hopefully fun tour of the website live today. We're really pleased to begin by launching the new FIP report, the FIP Development Goals Report 2021, Setting Goals for the Decade Ahead. First, before we begin, of course, if you aren't already familiar with the FIP Development Goals or know them by heart by now, we'd like to take you through this very quick promo video of the goals. The video will play shortly. Wonderful. So those were the 21 goals that FIP launched in September 2020. We just celebrated the first year anniversary in September 2021. And of course, these goals bring together workforce and education, practice and science in a transformative framework, defining an improved and more advanced pharmacy profession for the next decade. And they build on the 13 pharmaceutical workforce development goals that were first published in 2016. You can find out more about the goals and launch event and all of the history shortly via the new links that we'll be sharing with you. Next, I'd like to quickly introduce you to our FIP CEO, Dr. Catherine Duggan. She's the Chief Executive Officer at FIP, and she has a message for us ahead of us diving into the report.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends. Welcome to our FIP Development Goals special event, where today we are launching the Global Report 2021 and our new online knowledge centre. For those of you who don't know me or who are joining later, my name is Catherine Duggan and I am the Chief Executive Officer of FIP. It's with great pleasure that I am speaking with you today, because it's lovely to start a year reflecting on the previous year and setting the pace of work and support for our members in the profession. So let me take you back a little bit to the year 2020, when we all saw the COVID outbreak designated as a pandemic. During the 700 days up until the end of 2021, the world changed. Indeed, it continues to change, and I'm sure that many of us can't believe that we're actually still in the midst of a pandemic as we approach 800 days. The pandemic made us all adapt our lives, our ways of working, and our ways of living. And despite the impact of the pandemic on the FIP business plans for 2020 and our working environment, we took the attitude that if the profession was having to persevere and deliver for the constituents they serve, whether it's patients, the public, students, policies, influential leaders, then we would do the same. We persevered with the ambition that we would launch the FIP development goals for our members and the profession worldwide, understanding the need to provide directions and goals in the coming year as we live with and hopefully move out of the pandemic. It's worth me just paying a few tributes here. None of the work we do at FIP is in isolation. Everything builds on the strengths of the work before. And the FIP development goals launched in 2020 built on the success of the pharmaceutical workforce development goals that had been launched some 4 years previously in 2016 at that infamous Congress in Nanjing. They set the trajectory, the direction, and the vision for the workforce and for education. And that really supported the advocacy work that we were doing as a federation to make sure that those in global leadership positions outside of pharmacy knew what we were contributing in terms of workforce. As we moved into the pandemic, it became ever clearer that we needed to have these across the profession. We had planned for it anyway, but it became clearer that they were an imperative. The 21 FIP development goals are a key resource for transforming the pharmacy profession globally, regionally, and nationally. The goals align with our mission to support global health by enabling the advancement of pharmaceutical practice, sciences, and education, and are set to support pharmacy transformation in alignment with wider global imperatives such as the UN, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Super important for us to make sure that science, practice, and education in the workforce are visible. And I think the pandemic has just brought that into sharper focus than ever. Having a set of one FIP development goals provides us with a consistent way to identify commonalities across the Federation, as well as to identify some unique priorities and attributes, whether they be national, regional, or indeed, whether they be science, education, or workforce focused. Practice is at the core of what the patients have seen, and it may well be that we have some uniqueness there as well. What's important is that we bring all elements together. We can see that pharmacy and pharmacists and all of their support staff could not practice in the pandemic if it wasn't for the workforce development, education and support that they had received, and indeed the pharmaceutical science that has delivered us the new vaccines, new antivirals and repurposed medicines. What we're after now is a roadmap for the next decade. So in 2021, we ran a digital program that really focused, it did some deep diving into each individual development goals to identify the priority goals for the decade ahead, to think about what they were for the regions and our members, as well as what they were for us individually. The FIP Development Goals report that we're launching today, Setting Goals for the Decade Ahead, provides us with a status report, a status update on the goals, 1 year since their launch. And this will give us an anchor point that will facilitate the next decade's roadmap aligned with UN Agenda 2030. We will use today's report to launch a report for the decade ahead, a roadmap, if you will, identifying where we are against each goal, against science, practice, education and workforce development, against each region's priorities, and then we shall chart where we need to be by 2030 in alignment with the UN SDGs. So back to the report, colleagues. Part 1 is a summary of how the FIP development goals will support pharmacy transformation by bringing together the practice, the science, the workforce and education that I've constantly mentioned, but in alignment with the Global Sustainable Development Agenda. Placing ourselves in alignment with wider policies is and always has been very successful for our profession. A summary of the programs of work delivered since the launch of the goals in September 2020 are outlined with the focus on last year, 2021, the first year of the goals and the first year of the decade ahead. In the second part of the report, the global, the regional and the national needs and priorities are described. FIP's Regional Engagement Strategy 2021 provided us with the opportunities not only to engage with our members, but also to identify their needs, your needs, using the FIP development goal as an assessment framework. Mapping together the goals, the delivery within the Federation, alongside those of our members and their needs and priorities seems to be a synergy that we need to capitalise upon. It's so important for us to present these to you in detail and to feature the voices of our members everywhere. The final part, part 3, presents an overview of each of the development goals, showcasing how FIP continues to support its members through our events, programmes of work and lessons learnt, all collated from members worldwide. What we're also seeking to do with this information is to see where the commonalities exist across the regions between member organisations, to identify where some members that have the skills and the experience may be able to support those with the needs and the priorities. But in this section, we remind our members what each goal aims to achieve across its 3 elements, to detail how FIP supports the implementation of the goals, provide lessons learned from members across the world on how they're trying to progress priority goals in their country. We absolutely understand that if we are to progress, if we are to advance pharmacy worldwide, we need to learn from the successes and the challenges across our member organisations. The publication captures the scope of work FIP has done in the year 2021, alongside the commitments we have made to our members. We stand by our commitments now, and in the future, we commit to supporting our members to transform pharmacy with clear action, in solidarity with everyone. I must just pay a little tribute to the team who have led these events. All the team were involved in them, but in particular, huge thanks to Lena, Farah and Noor for leading this work. It's a great tribute to their hard work and their passion, but actually they couldn't do it alone. They had support from the events team, from the wider programme teams and their team members as well. I feel truly proud of this work. Not only has the team acted like a team, but we've been able to launch an online resource centre that will continue from this day onward to be populated with the great work FIP has done over the years. From the Workforce Development Hub, reports from the boards, from FIPED, and across all our sections and SIGs. It's a real tribute, it's a real honour, and we thank you all. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for that, Catherine, for putting the context around when we were launching the report, that we're living through the pandemic, that the goals have been delivered and they're needed now more than ever to transform the profession in order to help people around the world deliver care that's needed and responding to the pandemic in the ways everyone needs around the world. Thank you also for giving us and the listeners here with us the structure of the report. So as Catherine has mentioned, the report is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is a very high-level overview of what we've done in 2021, the first year of the decade ahead. Part 2 summarizes the regional engagement results, our members' needs around the world, which we'll go through today. And part 3 is more of a breakdown of the DGs one by one across the 21 goals. We will briefly present some of the content of the report, but of course, there's much left in the report itself for you to read through and skim through, but some key highlights from us. Of course, the 21 DGs, as you're aware, are accompanied by a growing set of FIP tools, structures and indicators, as well as programs of work to facilitate and support the process of transformation. The FIP goals serve as a systematic framework for needs assessment and mapping priorities. We aim to facilitate monitoring, the dashboard, the system of sharing best practice development globally and regionally, with evidence generated and displayed through our pieces of work, such as the Global Pharmaceutical Observatory, Atlas, and Atlas as well. And the FIP platform, the new platform coming, provides opportunities for members and partners to share and support developments nationally, regionally, and globally through partnerships around the world. In 2021, our program of work for the development goals in that first year of Decade of Action and the first year since the launch of the goals, we really focused on setting the goals for the decade ahead, engaging with our members and supporting them to identify their needs on national and regional levels. And this report provides an update on that year since their launch and plans for the decade ahead as well. So in 2021, we launched a comprehensive member engagement strategy using digital platforms and virtual means to identify and understand members' needs and progress. We then aligned various priorities and mapped them to the goals. Engagement largely took place regionally as a foundation for identifying and collating our members' needs, gaps, and priorities against the DGs. Moreover, this enabled us to identify both current status against the goals and how far members wanted to progress in the future. A full description of the results of this engagement across 2021 will be delivered a little bit later by my colleague Farah. What you see on the screen, though, is that we've also mapped the goals against some of our key programs, such as non-communicable diseases, prevention, safety. We really wanted to see how the goals map to these 3 key areas and where are the commonalities between these 3 programs of work. And they help us identify some primary, prominent, essential goals that are common across these 3 areas. These include, for example, Goal 7, advancing integrated services, policy development, medicines expertise, of course, people-centered care, Goal 15, access to medicines is a key, patient safety always underpins everything we do, and digital health, of course, we have to consider as we develop the profession. And you'll see secondary as well as desirable goals that also can help indicate where are we with our programs of work and where do we need to be. If you have been engaged with our events last year in 2021, then you must be familiar with our 21 event series, setting goals for the decade ahead. This was a comprehensive series of 21 online events, providing insight into the 21 development goals. These events aim to provide description, direction, and context for each goal, how each region can identify and prioritize the goals, and how the goals can support development and transformation as part of global and regional plans. We share some selected highlights from these events, summaries of these events and what the panelists have really shared with us in the report. So you can access that and read that at your own time. We'll be sharing the links to the report shortly. And of course, you can visit events.fit.org to explore the full set of recordings from this 2021 series. All 21 event recordings are available for free, and we really recommend them if you'd like a deep dive into any one of the goals that interest you more than others. It's important to note here that we that we acknowledge that it's imperative that we need to measure progress of the goals with indicators. So FIP in 2021, and really immediately after launching the goals back in September 2020, we began working on indicators for the goals following their launch. Country-level metrics are being developed as a way to measure and monitor progress via the data we collect in the FIP Global Pharmaceutical Observatory. Tracking progress toward the goals in the nations of our member organization is a fundamental objective of the GPO. Sustaining an impetus towards these DGs is only possible if our member organizations and partners can be engaged with regular, timely, and reliable data collection to guide their programs of transformation. All the core indicators needed for monitoring progress toward the 21 goals are being developed in parallel with everything we've been doing in 2021. These will identify the data that need to be collected, as well as definitions, sources, and methods used. Activities of the GPO will streamline the flow of data from members, organizations, and partners to reduce the reporting burden as well. And we will support with coordinating and sequencing surveys that support priority identification. In this way, we will support our member organizations working in their nations to make evidence-based decisions and inform policymaking that are the most beneficial to patients. Look out for the indicators, which we are still working on in 2022, and we expect to have a core set published very soon. And excitingly, FIP worked in 2021 on developing a new microsite, developmentgoals.fip.org, a digital platform that serves as a web-based resource for the development goals. The microsite collates FIP's work, publications, events, and other outputs mapped to the goals by theme, alongside tools and resources for our members. FIP's key programs of work that support goal implementation are also mapped and linked to each goal, and the microsite will host the current global translations of the goals that are being led voluntarily by our members. We will continue to update this website. Please visit developmentgoals.fip.org. And I'd like to take a few minutes of today's event to really take you through a tour of our new microsite. So I'm going to just make sure I'm sharing the screen. If you visit developmentgoals.fip.org, you will see this landing page, a very simple tile of the development goals, all 21. And as we go through them, I'd like to tell us in the chat box, which of these 21 goals are priority areas for you in your context or institution or professional sector. If you can tell us top 3 goals in the chat, that would be great. And we'll share those with everyone later on today. Each goal takes us to a very special page that lists the goal's elements as well as mechanisms across the 3 elements: workforce, practice, and science. We're going through Development Goal 1, academic capacity, as an example. It also lists all of FIP's resources, especially the most recent ones that map with DG1 and support implementation. We have thematically mapped them across all of FIP, and also lists events, webinars, and digital programs that also map to this goal that you may want to view. And of course, you'll see the links and recordings there. We will continue to add past and future events and resources to the website every day. In addition, an important 4th tab for each DG is our work. It lists the FIP programs of work, as well as structures that support the implementation of any one of the goals here for you, as well as links to their pages. Go back to the home page, and this applies to every single one of the 21. So I'll go to number 10 as an example. Again, you can see the elements, all resources that support DG10 implementation, directly or indirectly, events and webinars, as well as our pieces of work that can provide you with further insight and resources. At the top of the menu, a very simple 3-item menu here about the goals really provides you with another reminder of what the goals are really about, some of the key images and infographics that featured in the launch, and links to the full DG's handbook, which really explains everything about the goals, the development, and their purpose. Going back up, Global Report 21 is where you'll find everything you need about the new report we've launched today. It has the link to the report, as well as report bonus features, which Farah will explain and go through a little bit later. Finally, a big resources tab at the top, including everything FIPDG publications. You have access to our graphics kit, so you can feel free to download and use them in your presentations, in your institution, during work, or as you present or explain the goals to others. And the promo video, which we showed to you earlier. A very simple link to digital events that relate to the DGs, and some additional information for getting in touch and helping us spreading the word on the DGs. That's in essence the FIP Development Goals website. We will continue, as I mentioned, to update it on a daily basis, and we'll make sure it reflects our comprehensive range of work that FIP does, and our officers lead and our staff lead as well. And we hope that this will provide a very helpful knowledge center for all our members and support them in their journey of transformation. I'm going to pause here and hand over back to my colleague Farah, who's going to take you through part 2 and some of the key highlights from the report with regards to regional engagement. Do not forget to tell us in the chat which of the goals are key priority areas for you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Farah.
Thank you, Lina. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Farah Haqqad. I'm FIP's Regional Engagement Support and Development Manager. First, thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you who have been with us from the start of the DG's launch and who have contributed to this report. We look forward to collaborating with all members across the globe to take these steps forward. So as part of my presentation, I'll briefly walk you through part 2, as Lina mentioned. Part 2 focuses on identifying the global and the regional and the national priorities in general. And I'll begin by giving you a high-level overview of the FIP's global engagement and the needs assessment strategies. So we believe that the FIP development goals provide the logical and the comprehensive and the systematic framework in order to accelerate global, regional, and local advancements, whether it's in science or practice or education and workforce development. We've made a commitment to helping our members in order to assess and to track their needs, challenges, and priorities using these FIP development goals as a direction. So keeping this commitment in mind, the FIP launched a new engagement strategy in 2021 using the FIP development goals in order to identify and to collate a member's needs and progress, as well as to combine the priorities and to map them globally, regionally, and nationally again. So we used our regional engagement strategy to identify again the priorities, and we also helped our members identify how they're actually progressing against these goals and their future goals. And that's exactly what we aim to expand on in the coming year. So by identifying our members' common needs, their objectives, we could basically describe potential areas of collaboration across different regions. And as we observed national and regional patterns, we discovered that although different countries have different needs, they are very similar in many respects. And thus, in this section, we provide a high-level snapshot of some of the key priority areas across the globe, region by region. We've been able to present some national aspirations as emerging priorities and needs. And as I mentioned previously, we will continue to work on supporting members at the national and regional levels through FIP's needs-based development approach. So moving on to the next slide, here's a brief summary of our journey in 2021. My aim here is to summarize some key regional engagement initiatives that contributed to the DG's priorities assessment that are presented in this report. So we started with our high-level meetings on April. Those one-to-one meetings with our member organizations aim to strengthen the collaboration and the trust between FIP and each member organization. We try to coordinate joint efforts to address specific concerns, challenges, and needs in that specific nation. From April 20th until April 30th, we started the first round of regional engagement meetings, and the purpose was to basically identify the top 3 members' priorities aligned with the FIP development goals. We asked the representatives to present these priorities during each regional meeting. And then during July to September, we held a second regional engagement meeting. And the major purpose of the meeting was to present our plans, FIP plans, based on the input from all of the members. We provided some word cloud activities and strategies, and we focused on assisting FIP in developing a regional plan. After these first 2 regional meetings, FIP contacted some member and observer organizations in order to gather feedback and suggestions and to reaffirm members' aspirations in order to achieve their development goals priorities, whether it's on a national or a regional scale. And to note, these interviews were used to gather the detailed snapshots that you will see in the report. Thus, we continued in November with the final regional engagement meetings. Here we held focused topics engagement sessions. We had breakout room sessions, and members discussed the regional priorities we identified and highlighted. These meetings were regionally specific to conclude our journey for 2021. The engagement strategy for 2022 will use the data we've collected to highlight, assess, and update our members' needs and priorities, and we will use the development goals as our guidance and as our framework. I'd like to mention that FIP will gladly assess any member organization with the mapping of the priorities and needs against the FIP development goals. In 2022, we do look forward to working with you to meet the needs we collated and the priorities, and to advance our profession together. Next, to sum up, in 2021, members of each of the 6 WHO regions were asked to pinpoint or to identify the goals that were most important to them at that time. And the report includes 49 members who have contributed and identified their priority development goals. Those 49 members represent 41 countries in the report. So again, thank you to all members. We acknowledge the efforts made by our members and the observer organizations as well. And we confirm that the details examined in all different sections have been included with the permission and the consent of our members. I'll start now by giving you a global overview of the priority development goals. So the figure on the slide shows the number of member and observer organizations that have identified each of the 21 development goals as a priority for 2021. For example, you'll see that Goal 7, Advancing Integrated Services, was identified as a priority goal for development by 16 different members across the world, while Goal 13, Policy Development, and Goal 19, Patient Safety, were identified as a priority goal for development by 15 different members across the world. You'll notice that while going through the report, you'll see that some nations in 2021 appeared to place lower priority on some FIP goals than others. And that's because members' priorities vary over time and they change over time. So our commitment is that FIP will continue to gather data and insights to build upon these outcomes and update these priority development goals as we engage and as we follow up with our members. We also plan to incorporate other members into these regional and global profiles. Moving on, I'll walk us through a figure, and the figure you see on the screen presents a global snapshot of the most chosen development goals for 2021. So those are basically the goals collected from members and observers, and we distributed these as first, second, and third priorities. In this chapter, we basically summarize and list the exact priorities of some of the members who participated. And you can find these priorities listed in tables under each region. I'll walk you through the regional overview, and I'll invite you to explore these further using the report. We'll start with our first region, Africa. 4 member organizations reported their priorities based on current national development needs. And based on the data we compiled from members within that region, the following figures offers an overview of the most selected development goals across the region for 2021. And as you can see on the slide, the majority of the respondents in the African region chose DG1, academic capacity, DG3, quality assurance, DG9, CPD strategies, DG18, access, as their priority areas in 2021. Next, we have the Americas region, where 6 member organizations have reported on their priorities. And on the next slide, you will see the priority matrix for demonstrating the most selected development goals in the Americas region. DG1, academic capacity, DG3, quality assurance, 13, policy development, and DG15, people-centered care, were the focus areas selected by most respondents in the Americas region. Moving on to the Eastern Mediterranean region, we had 5 member organizations. The priorities you'll see on the screen, you'll see that most of the members responding indicated DG2, early career training, DG5, competency development, DG9, CPD strategies, 13, policy development, and finally 19, patient safety as their priority development area. Our next region is Europe, and we have compiled responses from 21 member and observer organizations. The priority areas chosen by most members in the European region were DG7, advancing integrated services, working with others, policy development, digital health, and DG21, sustainability in pharmacy. Moving on to Southeast Asia, we have received the response from 3 member organizations. And as you can see on the next slide, we have DG12, pharmacy intelligence, people-centered care, patient safety. Those were basically chosen by most of the responding members in the Southeast Asian region as their priority area. And our final region is the Western Pacific. It has 10 member organizations reporting on their priorities. And most Western Pacific members selected DG1, academic capacity, early career training strategy, advanced and specialist development, advancing integrated services, and pharmacy intelligence, patient safety, digital health as their priority areas for 2021. And from this overview, we can see that many of the trends and commonalities among our regions already exist, and we do look forward to working with our regions with the support of the regional forums in order to achieve these priorities and these needs. Last but not least, I want to mention some other elements that we cover in this chapter and in the report, including the priority activities for the regional forums in 2021. You'll also find some testimonials from members on how the FIP development goals align with their organizational strategic plans and their philosophy. You'll also find a list of key regional engagement events in 2021 under each regional section. In addition, the report page includes a list of bonus features, which Lina presented earlier. And this will include segments from our interviews with our members, which we will actually share in the chat box in a few moments. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for listening. I'll hand it over to Lina now. Lina, over to you.
Thank you very much for that, Farah. Moving on to the next slide, we'd like to share with you, we won't go into details with part 3 because we leave that for you to go through the report yourself, but we just wanted to say what's in part 3. So part 3 of the report presents an overview of each of the 21 goals. In that section, we provide a reminder of what each goal aims to achieve across its 3 elements of practice, science, and workforce, which is also available on the website in more detail. We also list our programs that support implementation of the goal and summarize some lessons learned from members across the world on how they are progressing with each of these goals. For some of the goals, there's a selected summary of the events in 2021. These provide really good insight and some ideas of trends and key issues and challenges of 2021 as reported by our panelists, speakers, experts, and members during the 2021 event series. We will invite you to read through part 3 yourself, but that was just a very high-level summary. And in the next slide, we have a video from Catherine, who will share with us our future plans and outlooks for the development goals and what you would look out for. Thank you.
Hello again, everyone. It gives me a great pleasure to provide you with a mini update on the future outlook. So, where will we go in 2022? Well, in this year, we will see a continuation and a consolidation of the work we've done in 2021. We will include validating the national and regional priority results and data with our members. We will use the skill sets across the Global Pharmaceutical Observatory to help us with the indicators for the DGs and initiate progress measurements. We will collate all of the goals of priorities under our 3 big priority areas of NCDs, prevention and safety, as well as UNITWIN technology and regulations, and make sure that we can measure evidence of impact across all our countries this year and next to present to health ministers. Developing the regional action plans will build on the regional analysis in the report, and that lines up to the Health Ministers Summit I mentioned that will be held in September 2023. We have work underway to broaden the FIP Workforce Development Hub into a FIP-wide hub, linking to all of the development goals. Again, building on the strengths and the success of the WDH. We do nothing without standing on the shoulders of giants and building on the great work of FIP already. Importantly, we'll be setting the roadmap for the decade ahead to 2030, aligning that work with our SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN, and the FIP vision. We will seek to engage with all constituencies, all leaders across FIP, and to make sure the regional and national perspectives are showcased. 2022 will also see the 1000th day since the pandemic was declared in January 2020. We plan to publish a report to support pandemic preparedness alongside a summary of the global, national and regional responses to COVID-19. 2022 work streams set the path for the Health Ministers Summit we will host next year in 2023, at which we will be presenting evidence of impact across the development goals, the clusters I mentioned, the FIP priorities that seek to unite all of our constituencies together. By providing ministers with evidence of impact and showcasing the great work that pharmacy has done as business as usual, but also during the COVID pandemic, will ensure our profession is central to global health and that national health ministries and health ministers understand and can see the value of the profession. As we know, it is the century of the pharmacist and pharmacy. This is the first decade to making that century really sing. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you to the team. Thank you for attending and thank you for listening afterwards. It's a great event to be part of and I thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you very much for that, Catherine. And before we close, we'd like to again invite you to our new microsite developmentgoals.fip.org, where you can also read the new report and explore the bonus features and everything related to the goals in one place. We will continue, as I've mentioned, we will continue to update the Development Goals microsite. There's things to be added every day, and feel free to contact us if you think, if you have ideas, or if you'd like to make any new suggestions to the microsite, which we'll continue to work on in the coming days, weeks, months, and years, for sure. We will actually let you go. We don't want to keep you for longer, because we'd like to give you back some time to go through the report and hopefully make use of some of the insights and see how some of them can be transferred to your context, institution, country, etc., wherever you are. The links to the website and the reports have been added in the chat. They're on the screen as you see now. I'd like to take this opportunity to again thank the team involved. Farah, thank you very much for co-leading the report. Noor, for helping populate and develop the microsite, and everybody involved, because this is not a small team's job. It can only be done with everybody's input. Thank you very much. And to the events team, communications team, as well as our designers and everybody who's helped us with delivering this report. Thank you very much, and we'd like to invite you to visit our webpage, events.fit.org, to explore our full menu of upcoming events and register for free to attend one of them. We hope to see you there very, very soon, and thank you very much. Goodbye for now.